Greetings and welcome. How are we all feeling at the moment? Today's topic is about the manifestation of anger. Now, anger is a very common emotion, also a very interesting one. The thing is with anger, it's not necessarily about the emotion itself, but it's about how intense anger can get, how it can turn into a state rather than just an emotion. And when anger turns into a state, you start attracting things like irritability, frustration, you feel annoyed, and you just feel sort of anxious, but in a very strong way. And anger is something that we all feel, and it can be healthy, but it can also be extremely destructive. And the thing is, with anger, it's a secondary emotion. It's usually put in front to hide, cover up, or mask another emotion. It's not necessarily always an emotion on its own. You could say, I feel angry that you did that to me. But reading between the lines, what are you actually saying? I am hurt that you did that to me. And when we become hurt, we become angry, because it is a form of deflection when the sense of self is being attacked. And we all have become explosively angry, and it never works out well. You often regret the things that you do and say out of anger, because it's such a high energy emotional state that it makes you a little bit more impulsive. And anger is actually very commonly linked to fear. We become angry when we are afraid because we don't know how to process the fear. Say one of your best friends is moving to another country and you're angry with them, but you're not necessarily just angry about it. You're afraid that you're going to lose the connection. You're afraid that you're going to lose that person. You are afraid of being abandoned by that person. And that's why it manifests itself as fear instead. Remember, anger is just a protective mechanism. It's just what we do to preserve the self, especially if we cannot immediately process the situation as it's happening. Then we become angry. As I said, anger is a form of deflection when you cannot internalize or process a very stressful circumstance, situation, or outcome. We use it to protect the self. We use it almost in a way, in a primitive way. Anger is meant to scare off. And even though we're scared, we approach all of these situations and circumstances with fear. And how do we protect ourselves when we are afraid? We become angry. As I said, it's a form of deflection. It happens when you cannot internalize your world in a way that is very constructive. So you feel very much triggered by certain things. And that's the thing with anger. It's a trigger emotion. You get triggered. And when you can't deal with that trigger and the highly volatile emotions that come with it, you deflect instead. And your deflection could become projection onto others, or deflection could turn into rejecting the self and rejection of the self. So when you are angry towards someone and you are very emotional, It's a form of deflection, because in that moment you are so highly emotional that you cannot access the logical part of your brain to process the situation. That's why when you get angry, it's good to calm down and relax, and then reapproach the situation with a clearer, calmer mindset. And what we don't always realize is our anger destroys relationships. Just having an attitude with your partner, or them making a small mistake, and you suddenly get very angry, you get very triggered, and you take out all of the frustrations, all of the irritabilities that you experience during the day, and you deflect and project it onto that person that you are in a relationship with. Or it doesn't have to be necessarily an intimate relationship. It could also be with parents and friends and siblings. But either way, if a person becomes extremely angry all the time in a relationship, the other person doesn't feel emotionally safe, and that person can become pretty unpredictable, and then it's very difficult to connect with someone like that. A really good way to manage anger is to practice desensitizing yourself to triggers. This is a practice known as exposure therapy. When you are very triggered by an alarm, start by playing that alarm in a softer way for shorter amounts of time until you get used to the sound. Look, that's a very simple example, but it's about taking small steps to not constantly get triggered and then you can't process, and then you deflect, and then you're afraid, and then you become angry, and then you explode. That's why it's important to not just run away from your triggers and not to fight them with anger and explosive behavior. It's best to just ride the wave and allow the trigger to have an impact on you. Process it, but remember, you don't always have to react to it. You don't always have to respond to it. And another thing, anger comes from hurt, and a lot of us know this. When we are hurt, we don't like to show others that we are vulnerable. We don't like to show others that we are sensitive to what they have done, because we are afraid, because they hurt us, that they are going to somehow weaponize our emotions and use it against us. So therefore, when we are hurt, we portray anger to protect and preserve the self. An important thing to do when you are trying to bring your anger levels down a bit, or bring down the intensity of the anger a bit, is to practice patience. When you are in a hurry and everything is taking long, it doesn't help completely losing your temper, because it's only going to make you feel worse, and it might even make the situation take longer. So it's important to practice, just sit in one spot and say, you know what, this is frustrating me right now, but I'm going to take a deep breath and I'm going to deal with it anyway, because it needs to be dealt with. The more patience you practice, the more desensitized you get to your triggers, with anger, of course. And then another thing is practice compassion, because when you are compassionate, you are less likely to get angry, because you are showing someone that you are emotionally sensitive. You are showing them that you appreciate them, or you respect them, or you are trying to empathize with their model of the world. So be compassionate, because we're all going through tough times, and facing something with compassion instead of anger promotes healing. And then reflect before you deflect. Think about it first, process it first, before you project it and you turn it into something that is a lot more toxic or a lot worse. So it's important that you first do some self-reflection, think about it first before you react or respond. And deflection is what we do when we are trying to protect the self, but we are actually putting our emotions and deflecting them and projecting them onto other people. Remember to manage the intensity of your anger, because that's what causes the most problems. It's okay to feel angry, but the extent must always be controlled. So remember, you are unique and valuable. Take care of that stunning person. Stay strong wherever you're from.